Okay, we are live. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Um, yes, I want to talk about the importance of higher education. Before I get to that, a couple of pieces of information of practical, some practical information here. I will have my merchandise shop up and running as soon as the providers of that shop have gotten back to me. It was hacked. So anyway, I had to take all the designs out and put them in again. But anyway, I hope by the end of the week. Uh, at this point, I don't know exactly, but I will let you know. And also, I am going to continue working on my takedown longbow right after I finish this live stream. But I just so and that video will be up on the main channel. The main channel is linked in the video description to this live stream. So that should be up on Saturday, hopefully, if I can manage to finish the longbow by then. So, you know how it is. I get annoyed. I see stuff and I get annoyed. I have reached that age now when I've decided to become a grumpy old man instead of just being a grumpy man. So now I'm a grumpy old man. And one thing that makes me quite grumpy, to be honest with you, is this idea that it's stupid to take uh, higher education. And you will see memes or memes, as I used to say to annoy my kids. They get so embarrassed. Uh, um, it's the thing is that these memes and the attitude is that it's a waste of time to go to college because you don't learn anything and it's just very expensive. And also the attitude is that people who went to college, they are not smarter than other people. In fact, they are stupider. Stupider. I need to say stupider more. It's not a real word, but it's funny. So yes, Bernhard, I'm a grumpy old white man. And I've actually gotten a backpack now for my 50. My mother gave me a backpack that you can sit on. So I will take my new backpack with me into the woods and I will sit on it and I can bring a beer. So if you meet me there, here's the thing, if you meet a guy, a middle-aged white male sitting on his backpack in the woods drinking beer, you can ask him anything because there is no way he will say I don't know. He will have answers to everything. But anyway, back to the topic here. Um, there are some unpleasant facts in this world. Okay, now let's take the part about intelligence. Now there have been, to my knowledge, there have been a few studies actually on this. IQ is a real thing. It's an indicator of your intelligence. Now, intelligence is defined by psychologists and psychiatrists. It's not a big mystery. People talk about stuff like social intelligence. That's not real intelligence. It's something different. Now, intelligence is not everything. I was at a Mensa meeting a few years ago, and that's the exclusive club for very smart people with very, excuse me, very high IQ. And I must say, some of the people there, they were pretty dumb. To be that smart, they were pretty dumb. um, but on average, people who went through university have a higher IQ than other people. Yeah. So you could say, depending on how you define smart, that they are smarter. I would say that smart means something different than having high intelligence, but that's not so important here, maybe. And we don't want to admit that. We don't want to look at these people who we might disagree with and so on, and admit that they have a higher IQ than us. Well, half the population, since IQ follows the bell curve, half the population has below average intelligence. And we need to deal with that. Now, intelligence is not everything. It's just one part of your personality. It doesn't really indicate that you will be successful, happy, or have good relationships, or be healthy, and so on. Well, actually, I have to arrest myself there. It actually does, but I don't have those studies in front of me. But we need to stop. Well, not you guys, but people need to stop saying that people who go to university are stupid. The irony in this, the big irony, is that and people are typing their trolling, hating comments about people who went to university on devices invented by people who went to university. They could only invent those devices because they went to university and they learned about, no, I don't know, but computing, advanced electronics, and what do I know? But at least I know you can't just sit down and invent the smartphone. You need to have an education in those fields, if you will. Another thing is that, and I've seen this a lot, I've seen that people claim that those who went to university think that people who didn't go to university are dumb. Now, most of the people I know, people I work with, like the people who work in the publishing house here in Norway. I'm an author there, and they all went to university. So most of the people I deal with, they have a university degree, and I've never, ever sensed any attitude that people who didn't go to university are lesser or stupid, or I've never heard one negative word about people who chose a different path. So going to university is, in most countries, quite expensive. And because of that, a lot of people, they don't get a chance to go to university. And also, I know some people who I sense are quite smart, quite intelligent, but and they didn't go to university because they had their interests in something different. So, like crafts, I have a lot of respect for people who spend years, dedication, hard work learning a craft. It's to me, it's extremely fascinating, and it's not like, I don't know why people hate on those who go to university so much. I think it's sad. I think maybe it's mostly an American thing, and I think it needs to stop. We need both, and people are different. That's a good thing. We need people who go to university. We need people who take education in psychology, history, and the one field there that is often mocked is philosophy. And I happen to know actually what kind of work philosophers typically get. Did you know philosophers are sought after in the private sector? Yes, they are. They usually work with things like ethics. They work in teams with economists, so sociologists, and so on and so on. And it's and they are sought after. Going to university to become a philosopher is not stupid. You will probably get work, and it's interesting work if you like reading, if you like deep thinking, that could be something for you, you know. So we need a multitude of different people with a multitude of different knowledge, and that people are different is a good thing. Um, and of course, you know, I know, I think I know where this hating on people who go to college and so on, and where it comes from, because in social media, you know, we have seen, again, I think it's mostly an American thing, but you know, gender studies and now I'm not going to say that we don't need to study that at all, but the amount of focus on that is, to me, it seems a little bit insane. But there are useless educations out there, and you can waste time in college, you can waste time in university getting a degree that is worth nothing. But I will bet that most people who go to college, well, we don't have college here in Europe, I think, at least not in Norway. You go to through university, you get a degree, um, and you now have to have a master's degree. Um, most people who do that, they do something useful, okay, and that should be respected. Now, I worked quite hard as a student myself. It's the days are very long. I can tell you, the days are very long. And some of my friends, people I worked out with at the gym and so on, they went to trade school, and they were, you know, when I got to the gym, I remember they were there already, you know, because they didn't have homework. They didn't have to read like 50 pages a day during the evening after the lectures and so on. Um, so I'm not saying it's that was easy. They were probably there earlier than I was at university, or um, I didn't go to a. It was not. It's a university. You get a master's degree there, but it's not. It doesn't have university in the name, but that doesn't matter. I guess you would say business school, and you go there and you get the now it's called a bachelor's degree, and then you get a master's degree. It takes 5 years. But back in the old Stone Age, when I was there, it was 4 years, and it was not internationalized yet, so uh, we had different names. And I didn't finish. Well, I did all the exams, but I didn't finish my diploma diploma assignment, because I got a book deal for my first novel. So I jumped the train, and I went for a different career. But anyway, um, it's it's a bit stupid to not see people who go to university and respect what they're doing. They should be respected. They are usually not there to waste anyone's time. We need that deep knowledge. We need people who are willing to go through that process of not only learning the field of knowledge and the area that, you know, for instance, I don't know, um, history, but also, more importantly, learning how to gain knowledge. That's what you do in university. You're learning a process. You're actually changing your personality. Changes a little bit so that you adapt to that process of gaining knowledge and applying that knowledge. I don't know how to explain it, but um, Matthias, good to see you. Yes, doctors. Yeah. What if nobody went to college and went on to become doctors and surgeons? A very good example, Matthias. Um, yeah, because to most people, the human body is a mystery. Like, I don't know all the tendons and stuff in my hand. I don't know what it looks like inside there. It's my hand, you know. Um, so what if that must have, really hurt. You cut a finger off and they can put it back on. So you better be grateful for that those people went to university, you know. Um, so accounting, Pamela, yes, yeah. Um, You're saying, Pamela, okay, I'll read it. Pamela says, I got a degree in accounting. I am a CPA, and I can tell you that I used everything I was taught. I spent my entire career as an auditor. You couldn't do that job without that education. Exactly. Now, I have an accountant, and I send bills and stuff and to him, and he sorts everything out. And at this point, I wouldn't know how to do that. I wouldn't know how to do the taxes and stuff. So I'm very grateful that we have people who go to university to become accountants. um, and Ramtur, I have to say this. You know, and I know that that's a significant person, the name that you have chosen, and I'm very grateful for that. And of course, I saw it. I recognized it the first time I saw you, and I'm sorry I haven't said anything about it before. It's quite, but thank you. It's That's wonderful. I try not to talk about the contents of my novels here because it can be very. So I'll have to ask you not to do that because I'm still waiting for English publication. And it can be what is that they call it? They call it spoiler. Spoiler. We don't want that. No. Um, so another example, I would say, are professions that or fields of knowledge that might seem useless now, but they might be very useful in the future. And I can't tell you which uh, professions or fields of knowledge that would be, but I can remember that back in the Stone Age when I went to university, um, we had this thing called biotechnology. I heard about some people they wanted to study biotechnology. Hmm. Yeah. Seems like they kind of made the right choice there, you know. It's become rather important. Rather important. So um let's see here. Well, I haven't been to all countries, so I don't know if it's like a difference or in when it comes to mutual respect. I think in a country, well, in Scandinavian countries, we don't really have uh, classes of people. Um, So I've never heard anyone saying things like, "Well, if you don't have a higher education, you're stupid." No, I don't think I've ever heard that. Um, so I don't know. I hope it's not like that in other countries. Um, yeah, here's another thing. Many in the USA have college degrees and they can't get jobs with them and they work junk jobs. Well, I would say that expecting to get a proper job with only a college education is naive. You need more than that because, oh, Gary, we do have poor people in Norway. Sadly, we certainly do. Yeah. Um, Typically, you will need a master's education in when you take higher education, you really need to go all the way. It's not enough to have, well, certainly not enough to have a college degree. I mean, a lot of people have college degrees. You have to have at least a bachelor degree and you should have a master's degree. And the problem is, of course, that it costs a lot of money, even in Norway. So what you are likely seeing is, and this skews the picture a little bit, or skews the numbers. I hope I'm using the right word there. You will see people who went to college working rubbish jobs while they are going to university. And they do that to pay for university. So you need to keep that in mind. I worked when I studied. I worked as a security guard for a couple of years. It wasn't really a proper job. I've said before that I've never had a proper job, but I did work as a security guard. Well, it was a proper job, of course, but it was during nighttime, and and it allowed me to do my writing on the side as well. So, um, you know, Canadian Spider-Man says, even if you go to school, you would be smart to still learn how to build or fix things or do something practical. Absolutely. And it's like, I think people should learn it in school, like when you're still a child. Is that, I don't know, when you're like 10, 12 years old, at that time, I think, or before, I think you should learn about things like actually how your car works, fixing your car. Now, I know they don't want us to have cars, and certainly not petrol cars, but anyway, I think people should learn about that. Now, me, I don't know how to fix my car. I can read about it, but I wouldn't dare trying to fix my car unless it's something very minor, because I would be too afraid that I, loosen some a screw and the brakes don't work or something like that. I've had to teach myself basic carpentry, but I couldn't build a house. Well, I guess I could if I really, really had to. And you learn along the way. We need to teach kids about nutrition, like proper nutrition, not okay, I won't go there. I'll just say healthy food. If you know me, you know what I'm talking about. Um, and personal finance, how to invest your money, or more importantly, how to manage your money. Because a lot of young people, especially, they have credit card debt now. They don't understand the concept of money. or spending money. So they should put all that in school. Now, actually, here in Norway, at least, I know that my son had a little bit about managing your personal finances in school, so that's good. But maybe they should put more emphasis on that. Matthias, that's okay. You get some sleep now, and thank you. Wisdom is knowledge. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, new cars are difficult. You open the bonnet. Is that what it's called? The lid front, and it's like an enclosed plastic box there. Typically, and what's you can't do much there. Um, yeah, and so as I said, I'm just I have most of the day off actually, so I'm going to film a video making a longbow. It takes me more than a day to make a longbow, um, and yeah. So I just want to say that. Well, Matthew, well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that donation. I I'm doing a lot of live streams now that seem to annoy people a lot. They get upset and so I'm losing subscribers for every live stream. But the most important thing is to be real, to be honest, and that's what I'm trying to be. That's what I'm trying to do here. And for me, as a Norse heathen, especially, and maybe you don't know this, but the quest for knowledge, if we use grand words, the quest for knowledge, it never ends. In other words, it's so deeply rooted in my belief system to seek knowledge, to constantly uh, gain knowledge and hopefully wisdom through that. So it's a never ending. You never stop being a student, and nobody should stop being a student. Even if you didn't go to university, you should still be a student. And as I think I mentioned, it costs a lot of money. So for some people, they can't go to university. It's too expensive, sadly. So in Norway, we have several. I guess you've heard that education is for free here. That's not true, but some higher education you can do for free, almost. Um, the cost of living here is very high, so you get that as well. But you know, you can become a lawyer here for quite cheap. You can become yeah. So we have that. It's a good thing. We pay for that through our taxes. It is something I gladly will pay taxes for, actually. Not those useless, like we mentioned, gender studies. To me, it's a bit useless, but some people might disagree. Maybe I'm misinformed on that, but since we are paying for other people's studies, higher education, I mean, by taxes, I want that to be useful and not only useful in 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, but useful 50 years from now, 30 years from now. And that's why we can't always pinpoint this education here is useful and this education is useful. This one isn't. It's not always so easy to do that because we don't know. If we look back, um, some of the higher educations that were deemed useless proved to be very useful. You remember I remember what's it called? Um, the people who make computer programs, the people who make software. Um, that's a at least here it's a university education. I remember it was called useless. Why would anyone do that? That I remember. That was when I was, in my teenage years, I think, and I started hearing about it, and no, we didn't have the internet and so on. And why would anyone do that? So useless. It's a waste of time. Well, um, now we know better, so maybe we should apply that to our present time as well. I really hope you got my point there. um, yeah, Gary says something very wise here, and I'll read it. With wisdom, you never know. With wisdom, you know not to use words like never or ever or can't be done. Yes, and I'll add to that I would like to see more people using the words I think instead of just making a statement. Because a lot of things we don't know for sure, but we can say that I think it's like this. So, okay. Let's see here if there were any. Yeah, Pamela, isn't that, it's unfair that I've heard about the thing where your Biden in America, he wants to get rid of the loans that people take to go to college, is it? Maybe university as well. So, as you're writing here, well, other people will pay for it through the tax bill. Um, and I, you know, I, um, I do understand that that's not fair, but still, we do have that system here. Not exactly that system, but yeah, it's a difficult one. It's not difficult. That one, what you're saying here is not difficult, but it's unfair, obviously. But yeah, you could say that you're investing in the future when you make university education free, but it needs to be uh, you can't have all sorts of weird stuff there in that university. It needs to be somewhat predicted at least to be useful, or it needs to have a there is a word here I know it in Norwegian. I don't know it in English. I'm sorry, but you get my point here. I just said that we can't always know which fields of knowledge will be important and essential in the future, but some fields of knowledge will, you know, probably not be important. um, so let's see here. So history, for instance, is important. Why is that? Well, you're studying the past. Well, yeah, but if we don't have people, if we didn't have people who studied the past, we lose who we are, and we need to know who we are in order to move forward in the right direction. Um, So that's an example. I've heard that studying history is useless, but it really isn't. Really isn't. Um, yeah. So I've never heard that actually, but Genevieve says to Tadg Ormond that they mostly just say that if people were smart, they wouldn't be blue collar workers. And if you don't have at least a million in savings, it's because you're lazy. Maybe it's just them. Well, yeah, but as I said, there are different reasons why people don't take university education. Money is one of them. Tradition, family tradition is another one. It's not always that you're not smart enough, but we do know from research that on average, the IQ score among people who have gone through university education is higher than the mean or the average in the population. um, yeah, Genevieve is still a good point there. Um, so let's see here. Mountains of Elysium. Well, greetings from Ireland. Well, greetings to you from Norway. You're saying that higher education is important, but it depends on the course. Some just spit out less educated narcissists. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm using gender studies. I probably, as an example of that, I probably don't know enough about gender studies to say that. I suspect that I am correct on that one, but I should look more into it. But I just don't want to be honest with you. um, but yeah, when I look at the available directions of study in university in Norway, in the universities in Norway, I must say that most, if not all, that I've seen, I think that they are useful. Um, I haven't looked at every single course, of course, of course, but I think that yeah, they you can't just make up something and have people get educated in it. It takes more than that. There's a process to, I guess, there. um, okay, yeah. Um, let's see here. Kjetil is asking, how about advertising? Is that useful? Um, advertising, isn't that, well, I have to think. I I actually don't know if people who work in advertising are usually sourced from universities. I don't know. I don't know actually. Um, Jan is asking, what's your education background? Well, I'm an economist actually. Um, so I went to what you would call business school. I'm not sure. Well, maybe you're not American. Well, I went to yeah, higher education here in Norway, and I would now have had a master's degree in economics, um, but I didn't finish my diploma. assignment because I got a book deal. So I finished all the exams. Like I have on the wall here, like it's like 2 pages full of courses, and I all had an exam in each of those. But I didn't finish the last diploma assignment or whatever you call it, because I got a book deal, so I went in that direction instead. So hedge fund manager, no, I wouldn't know how to do that. Um, so yeah, Kjetil, you could say advertising is not so useful, but then again, at first glance, advertising, it's very annoying and all that, but the people who work in advertising, maybe, and I'm just guessing here, their craft, if you will, is easily applied to information or getting information to people, and they happen to work in advertising because they need to make money, you know. No, I haven't done political science. Only, well, we did have political science in yeah, before university at the school there. So yeah, you could say that. Well, there's a lot of professions that are useless, and I would say advertising. It's difficult. It is difficult, but one profession, if we go back a few years, and one profession that was called useless was blacksmithing, like being a proper blacksmith, like in the old days. I don't know, maybe it's difficult to make a living as a blacksmith, but I think that has changed. People wouldn't call it useless now because it's about connecting to the past and all that, It's about bringing alive a part of our past, and so. But I remember that people said that's useless because you could actually become a blacksmith. When I was, like many years ago. Um, so, well, yeah. Well, thank you. If you're talking about me, I finished my education on my own terms. Actually, it's I think a majority. I don't have the latest numbers there, but back then, a majority of the students, they didn't finish because they were headhunted. Actually, we had private business coming to the school, and they would get you would probably have a job before you finished. So Karin Bull says education is the only thing no one can take away from you. My girls got university master degrees. Well, congratulations. That's awesome, and very true. Yeah, I would like to be a blacksmith. Joel says, I know a real blacksmith, Tommy, part of the group. Um, and this is something again, that I want to finish with these words here. I don't see why there should be this division between people who choose to take higher education and people who choose to learn a craft like blacksmithing. Um, we need both, and people are different. So some people have a much easier time learning from a book, for instance. And I happen to be like that. And some people have a much easier time learning by doing. And that's fine, you know. We also need to understand that if you, let's take history, studying history as an example. If you go to university and you study history, it is a craft. I can tell you, it is a craft. Not only the process of gaining knowledge that you're learning there, but it is in itself a craft. You're learning techniques that other people don't know. It's it's like it's difficult to explain, but hopefully I just did it. it's it is a craft, and we need to. I often refer to my writing as a novelist as a craft, and I'm talking to myself. I spend a lot of time alone, and so I'm talking to myself, not out loud, but I'm thinking to myself. I need to improve my craft. And that's actually what I'm thinking. I need to get better at my craft, and that's this thing that's, I guess, most novelists and artists, they tend to always think that they need to get better, need to get better. Next time, next book must be better, better, better. Um, and you're talking about a craft here, you know. Um, so and it really is. It really is a craft, um, and it's not that complicated. Well, the craft is complicated, but people need to start looking at those who go through university education as, in a way, craftsmen and craftswomen. They just takes a longer time for them to get to where they need to be in order to perform their craft. Um, so let's let's just respect people for the dedication, the time that they're spending going through university education. Let's Because it should be respected. Uh, it's not easy. It really is not easy. Long days, long days. And this idea that, students, well, they spend all those years partying and so on. Well, maybe in the movies, um, and maybe you know someone like that, but most students, they work really, really hard. And I mean, when I was in business school or university, whatever you call it, now I studied at home. Well, no, sorry. You go there in the morning and you listen to the lectures. You take notes. Maybe you have a workshop. Maybe you do stuff like that. And then you around 2 or 3, you start studying on your own. And most people would sit at location there at university. I prefer to go home and do my reading in the evenings at home, or not in the early mornings, because I was writing in the early mornings. But yeah, long days. Typically, students will have around 10-hour days. That's quite normal. That's quite normal. And when they're not working, now when they're not studying, they are typically working part-time to finance their studies. So we should respect that, And another thing is that my father actually took the same education, or I took the same education as my father. He went there, the same school actually, the same school. He went there for 3 years, and he got the same degree that I would have had if I had finished the diploma there. But I had to go there for 4 years. Now it takes 5 years. So that should be respected, you know. And if you go to university now, you take first a bachelor's degree that takes 3 years, and then you really need to get a master's. That takes 2 years. Some people do a professorate, that's the PhD. You don't need that in all the fields, but you typically go for that in the more abstract fields like, well, history. You would want a PhD in history because a master's, I would say, is not enough. A PhD takes, how long does it take? Is that 2 years now? I don't know. Well, but anyway, they are people who do that. They are studying, working very hard, long days for many many years, and we should respect that. I have so much respect for people who have taken a master's degree, and especially for people who have taken a PhD. It means something. It really means something. It's not easy to do that. It takes dedication to do that. And that doesn't take anything away from my respect for people who learned a craft like the blacksmith, the carpenter, yeah, the crafts. So, yeah, hope I got my point across here. Yeah, I'm just laughing, Gavin. Are you trolling? Are you joking? You're talking to someone who used to work up until a couple of weeks ago, 60-hour work weeks. So unless you have a sick sense of humor, you should just go away. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I usually get up at 4, and yeah, so I think the answer is no. I've never done proper work days like a real man because I do that and additional hours. Yeah, let's hope he's joking. Um, okay. Yeah, and this is a funny attitude as well. And I've heard it before. It's like if you don't do physical job, you're not a real man. If you don't do a physical job, you're not a real man. That's very odd. Um, and I really don't know where that attitude comes from, except from envy or something, because it really makes no effing sense. Um, I don't know where it comes from, but you know, let's see here. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I heard a lot of I've heard a lot of strange things, about this. I would say that a very manly thing to do, if we're going to use terms like that, is gaining wisdom. is gaining knowledge. It's your duty as a man, especially as a father. Um, and yeah, well, Mark is saying here, what do you think is harder, physical work or work where you use your brain? They both can be very hard at times. Yeah, I don't see why we should. That's I, you know, both are hard. It is hard to work 10-hour days, and I think maybe there's a limit to the physical. I think maybe if you do hard physical work, it's impossible to do it for 10 hour in, I don't know, um, but yeah, both are hard, you know. Um, what Bethany is asking, what would be the best work for someone who is blind? My son wanted to be a blacksmith, plus he loves wielding a sword. He graduated with BA in mathematics and loves working with numbers. What more? Well, he's obviously extremely intelligent then. Um, so I would say that I have my kids are very intelligent. They, very good grades and so on. And so I'm telling them that they should use that because not everyone is very intelligent, But if you are, well, you will probably be happiest if you get into a line of work where you can use that intelligence. So, um, so I don't know, but something that requires abstract thinking, maybe. Um, so, yeah. But I'm going to end the live stream here. Um, Lots of people are sharing their opinions here, which is great. But my message is that those people who mock those of us who took higher education, they really need to stop because they look quite stupid doing that. We need the people who learn a craft, and we need the historians and the doctors and the um, brain surgeons and archaeologists and philosophers as well. Just explain that they are sought after in the private sector. Um, so yeah, good point here. This is the last one I will show you. GB says there's a breaking point with physical work. Mental work, you have to make yourself stop or you will break. Very good point. And that's maybe the biggest danger of mental work. You can work yourself to death, actually. Um, because why shouldn't you spend just a little bit more time on this project? And I can speak from personal experience, not working myself to death, obviously, because I'm here. But you, what you do, is that you tell yourself, well, I'm just going to work a little bit more so that I can finish this. And then there's another thing, and then there's another thing, and then you end up working 60-hour weeks. And I know of people who work 80-hour weeks and have done that for years, and it really isn't good to do that. It's not healthy, um, and yeah, so that's the danger, I guess. And also, if you have if you are valued, um, if people need your expertise, they will push you to work more. They will try to make you spend even more hours working. And they will throw money at you. If you say, well, I can't, I'm so tired, they will say, well, what if we pay this? What if we pay even more? Um, that's how some people get very rich and very sick as well. Um, I I've seen it in my family, and typically, heart disease and things like that, an unhealthy lifestyle where you don't eat right, you sleep not enough, and I've been like that for well, too long. I don't want to admit for how long. I've been like that. Not for typically towards the last months of towards the deadline on a book. And when when I got 50 now, not long ago, I decided before that that will not continue. I can't go on like that. I don't want to. No. So I guess it takes more discipline to say no. It takes discipline, And, you need to think long term, because if you get a massive heart attack and you can't work, well, then it wasn't worth it then. So um, um, burnout, thank you. Wise grounded man, I try to be. Who knows how to start a fire? Yes, I know certainly how to start a fire. Perfect contrast. Yeah, maybe. Some people who work in the more abstract fields, they can get very very much not so practical with things. You know. So okay, I'm speaking of practical skills. I'm now ending this live stream, and I will go out and in my workshop and continue on my longbow. So hope you enjoyed this live stream, and we will talk soon. Okay, bye.